Greetings. Welcome to Little Discovery Corner. It's Friday, so I've got my Elemental Empath deck out. And right here, starting out, I have poking out is confidence. Take up space. Love yourself. Be you. You are worthy. Okay, so those may be sentiments you've been struggling with. Okay. And that's something we try to explore and get you to find and realize about yourself, is that you are worthy and that it's okay to take up space. It's okay to not worry about what everyone else is thinking of you, whether or not they're pleased, and put yourself first, your emotional needs first, and be the real you, be the authentic you. Like, it's okay to take off the mask, because there are people who will genuinely appreciate and value and love you just the way you are, who you are underneath whatever mask you wear for the world. Sensitivity, validate self. Vulnerability is strength. Projections, okay, yeah. And this is what the journey is about. This journey of self-discovery, personal emotional healing, is validating yourself, telling yourself you are worthy, and understanding, learning to open up emotionally and give emotionally and accept emotionally and open up to emotional closeness with people, because there is strength in vulnerability and there is strength in making those deeper connections with yourself and with others. And projections, that is when you're avoiding your sensitivity and you say, it's like, if you were to mock someone else for being too sensitive, that's projecting your lack of confidence over letting yourself be open and vulnerable and sensitive. You're judging someone else's sensitivity as being an inferior quality to possess, and that could be because you were conditioned and raised to believe that is an inferior quality to possess, and sensitivity and emotional openness is something you had to reject about yourself. And so you're in the mindset of rejecting that and believing others should reject that too within themselves. Intimacy, okay. Connect, discover, and voice needs, explore, heal. Okay, that ties right in. Opening up with vulnerability, accepting that you're allowed to be sensitive, and that's part of who you are, and it's a very worthy part of who you are. You don't need to suppress that or deny that about yourself. Everyone's human, and everyone has emotional sensitivities and emotional needs that need to be met. And if you open your mind up to that, open up your heart to that, you can establish those deeper emotional connections, those stronger bonds through intimacy. And that part of that is voicing your emotional needs. And if you've been raised to reject the idea that you might have emotional needs, you might want to explore some kind of like psychological literature on, say, personality disorders, attachment styles, emotional wounds, childhood traumas that you may not be aware that you have, because a lot of childhood traumas aren't necessarily like acute, like criminal activity against a child. They're also just anytime, as Gabor Mate says, anytime your emotional needs weren't being met, say like a little boy is crying over something that disappointed him, he's told to simply not cry, because boys don't cry, and he learns to reject that part of himself. And it's considered perfectly normal throughout the generations to raise a boy that way, but it's still wounding. It's still wounding, and it still creates tension within yourself and suppression, unconscious suppression of emotional needs that you should be opening up to and be aware of and learning how to feed and validate within yourself. Hope, okay. Trust, faith, heal the past, fits right in. Hope and expectations. All right, so there's always hope that you can heal. Don't give up on yourself. Tell yourself you're worthy. Understand that there is strength in being vulnerable with someone and connecting on a deep level with intimacy, and being confident in yourself, in your true self without a mask on. There's hope that if you work on all of that, you can bring your psyche, your mental and emotional stability to a stronger foundation, a better place for the happy ending most of us long for, whether it's with someone else or just, within ourselves. Like a stable emotional place where you're not feeling neurotic about stuff. I've definitely been there and been through all of that. There you go. Add on my lantern. Misalignment. Miracles become normal once we face all of the aspects of our life in the same direction. Okay, that kind of can refer to like your soul, your higher self trying to turn you one way and your ego's facing another, like say behind you. Oh yeah, and at the bottom of the deck was inner child, and that ties right in. Play, laugh, be silly, heal child wounds, which is what I was just talking about. All right, I'll just stick that right there. See what's on the inner darkness. Hold space, knowing patterns, release versus feed. Okay, also ties in. Connecting, becoming aware of, say, childhood wounds that could be affecting your mental and emotional state. Could be keeping you in like a state of inner friction, it's part of like healing. That is becoming aware of any patterns you've been in, say like codependency or manipulation, maybe like playing social dating games all the time. That's just a habit. You thought that was normal, and say perhaps you encountered a new connection in which they rejected that as normal, and they felt like they were being manipulated, for example, and they refused to play into it. And perhaps that left you confused and wondering why and what to do about it. And the answer is to get in touch with your inner child, figure out what, say, perhaps generational wounds might be in there, like pieces of yourself that you're rejecting as unworthy, and accepting that all parts of you are worthy. And the wounds are what needs to be, like any suppressed resentment, sadness, anger over being rejected, say, as a child in certain situations, is something you need to acknowledge, so you can let those emotions out, let yourself feel it, acknowledge that those feelings are valid, your experiences are valid, your disagreement with, say, the way you were raised is valid, and that's how you process and release. Open up your heart to intimacy with hope for the future. Let me see if the book says anything on this. 17. Often we are met with obstacles such as fear, conflicting expectations from others and society, the need for ongoing discipline, the upheaval of releasing from our life all that is not aligned, and determining how to make our lives sustainable once we surrender it all to the bliss of living in our truth. The process of aligning and integrating ourselves can feel like too much. We may be unwilling to take on the effort, risk, and loss from what this process involves. This is totally understandable. So is wanting to do it sporadically or all at once. The ball is in your court with this. But the importance of this card is that you always have the choice to turn toward rather than away from personal alignment. Okay, gently proceed to write with compassion, constructive criticism, like say a teacher guiding a student, where exactly you in certain aspects of your life feel uncomfortable, forced, outgrown, or misaligned. Unpack whether these areas have become part of your life from fear-based choices or from having compromised your truth, core values, or integrity in some way that you did not realize at the time. Perhaps you would have done things differently if the circumstances had been different. For example, it may have felt possible to choose otherwise if at the time you had made yourself a priority or a stronger sense of confidence, self-worth, or self-love. Maybe with sufficient funds or support, belief, and guidance that you needed from others, more preferable choices would have been more available to you. Take a moment to extend compassionate consideration, love, and honor to your former self's predicament and limitations. Be at peace and an acceptance of having done your best at the time. Had you known better, you would have chosen and done better. But now, return your head to its place on your heart and ask your spirit self what you can do to initiate a loving step toward aligning one detail of your life with your truth. Write down the answer. When you are ready, decide whether to act accordingly. You may wish to repeat this journal exercise each time you see clarity on the next aligned step for you to take and whether or not to take it. Okay, yeah, that's definitely part of this spiritual journey. The journey of inner work is one step at a time. That can apply to any new skill or journey of learning a new skill or getting good at something. Is trying one step at a time. Write down one thing you'd like to work on, how you could possibly work on it. Women supporting women. Together, we can transcend our individual limitations. All right, so if you are a man or any kind of masculine dominant person, these Friday videos are about balancing out with your feminine side. So, but let me see. This could just mean getting help. And then I was about to say, you could seek help from resources online, perhaps professional or even just trusted friends with whom you feel confident confiding in. Confidence and hope, there you go. And I heard something as I was meditating before this video started to prepare for this video, and I wrote it down. It is time for the journey to begin. And I definitely feel like that was about the shadow work journey, the inner journey to your subconscious, your unconscious, what might be keeping you stuck in like a misaligned place emotionally, spiritually, mentally. And I saw a statue of what looked like, I thought was a Buddha, but then I think it might have actually been Shiva, which can represent our masculine side. Shiva represents, among other things, the energy of the divine masculine. And the statue was kind of sitting, smiling in the glow of a flame, like a small campfire or a candle, and the candle slowly went out, and it got dark, and it got cold. And then I heard, it's time for the journey to begin. So I think that is my message to you today, to begin your work on your shadow side, balancing out with your feminine side. Let me see if there's anything to add. Sharing one another's lives, we come to know ourselves. Oh, maybe even a support group, for example, of some kind. When people connected to their inner divine feminine bear witness, nurture, and support one another, mutual love and raised frequency occurs. The divine feminine consciousness connects and supports us in realizing our fullest power, potential, and wisdom. In each other, we see what is possible when we do not go at life alone, in silence, or against each other. Okay, that's exactly what I was getting at. We are gifted with an experience of there being nothing to be ashamed of, but only pain to be released, witnessed, healed, and moved on from. Women supporting women potentially offers this life-changing moment when they hold loving space and support in response to an individual unburdening herself of a shame-filled secret. Therefore, the potential of loving safety generated by women supporting women nurtures and nourishes our spirits as well as enriches our lives. It may be time to reach out to the safe women in your life, whether you're male or female. Say a trusted friend or a relative who you feel like it would be safe to open up to about things that are bothering you, or perhaps a counselor of some sort who not necessarily have to be a female, but someone who's of a nurturing nature, and often it doesn't have to be a psychiatrist. It could just be a life support coach who's educated in, say, attachment styles, for example, and just wants to help people work through that. Okay, that will probably be good for today. Maybe I'll just add on a Moonology card. Anything else going forward? And here we go. Yes, surrender to the divine. Full moon. And full moons are totally about getting in touch with your emotion. The moon energy is about femininity, your feminine side, delving into your emotional subconscious to, delve through all this work. And nighttime, the moon is also associated with nighttime, and darkness and getting through that inner emotional journey where it's kind of dark and scary and daunting. But pretty much in everyone, whether you had a relatively mild sheltered childhood or a very tormented, abused childhood, pretty much everyone has shadow work to do. All right, I think that'll be good for today. I hope this helps someone out there. I will see you next time.